Welcome to another episode of Founder Unfiltered. My name is Bradley Jacobs. I'm your host, the founder and CEO of Mylance. This show is about the stuff that founders don't talk about, the identity crisis, the into the psychology of the patterns, the honest conversations that actually move the needle. Today, I'm joined by Jake Stahl. Jake is a communication strategist, author, and creator of NeuroStrategy, which is a practical framework that helps leaders, founders, and sales professionals read people in real time and show up with confidence in high stakes conversations. As CEO of Orchestrate and host of the Own the Room podcast, love that name, Jake helps people communicate clearly, close decisively, and be taken seriously the moment they speak. His work blends behavioral psychology, social dynamics, and real world application. No scripts, no gimmicks, just precision. Jake, welcome to the show.
Bradley, thank you for having me. This is really an honor, so thank you.
You're welcome. I'm excited to have you. So, all right, I read a beautiful intro for you, but give it to me straight, right? Like layman's terms, simple terms, what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm more of a presence coach, Bradley. A lot of conversations, a lot of sales are made or lost before you even say the first word. So a lot of it is about how you show up, the signals you put off. I mean, the reality is we all have two profiles. We have the one we show everybody, the one whose hair we comb and we put on LinkedIn. But there's another one, and it's the one that fuels the captions over our head. What are we really thinking? What are we responding to? What fears are driving our decisions? And Bradley, if we don't talk to that version of a person, we're really missing the boat. So I teach people how to talk to that version of the person.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you for feedback, maybe one thing in a way that I hold presence well and one area I could immediately improve my presence.
Yeah, of course. So you hold presence well through your smile and you sound authoritative. And I like that a lot. The one thing I would say is move closer to the camera, take up more of the frame, because that's showing you as having more of a presence. And one thing that really helps is a slight tilt to the head. And psychologists have not that much, just a slight one.
A little.
Okay. Right. Because one thing psychologists have shown is that exposing our carotid exposes an area where we have to trust other people, because that's a real sensitive area for us. We lose that, we die. So by showing other people trust, we find that they trust us in return. And I would encourage this with your headshot as well. Headshots tell us a lot, and people make decisions as to whether they're going to do business with you based on your headshot. So your headshot should be good posture, big smile that shows crow's feet, bonus for teeth, and has a slight tilt to the head.
So my slight tilt is missing in my headshot.
Yes.
Yes. Wow.
Yep.
Thank you for the feedback.
You're welcome.
And for everyone listening, we did not rehearse that. I did not prep Jake ahead of time. So that
No,
was
you
just
didn't.
real time. He's just throwing him in the fire. So I appreciate you going along with it. Awesome.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So that specific feedback for me is really helpful. The average founder, and I really focus on the work we do is helping founders be the presence, the voice of their brand. And I think it's such a powerful way to build a business. What are the biggest 2 or 3 things you see founders miss out on or get wrong as they're representing and growing their own businesses?
Yeah, one of the biggest things I hear that founders do wrong, and I did it for the longest time, is we get caught up in this, I'm not a good salesperson, right? A lot of founders are like, man, I just want to do my product. I don't want to sell things. I'm not a good salesperson. So one of the things I work with my clients specifically is I say to them, tell me why you're not a good salesperson. And Bradley, they sell me wonderfully on why they're not a good salesperson. So I think we need to lose that conception that what we're doing is selling. A transfer of passion, a transfer of emotion is as much selling as coming up with a script. So we get this vision in our head of the car salesperson, the lawyer, somebody we may think as trying to just slime their way into our lives. And the reality is, as a founder, you're a genius. You came up with an idea that people actually need. Don't be shy about spreading that passion. But too often we slink back and we take this I'm not good enough approach. You are. You're a founder. You're doing what less than 1% of people in the US will ever be brave enough to do. Show it. Get excited. Talk about your product and let that do the selling.
I might just have to listen to that clip every first thing in the morning. Like I feel fired up right now. I'm like, you're right. Less than 1% of people do this, and it's hard, and
It is hard.
yeah. So there's almost a piece around remember where you came from and remember how far you've come, and like what else do you recommend in practice besides listening to that clip over and over again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I would recommend is revel in your failures. And I know that sounds counterintuitive. I'll tell you a background story in a little bit about where I've come from and the journey I've faced. But one of the things I used to think all the time was I failed. And I started to use that as an excuse for maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I shouldn't take the next step. And it wasn't until I started to make a list of what I got wrong and then writing down what I got right because of that failure. It wasn't until I started doing that I started really reveling in my mistakes. Wow, I really screwed this up, but because of that, I did this really well. And when you start seeing how your mistakes can translate into successes, it starts to change the way your brain processes a mistake. So you'll make a mistake, and instead of getting down, your brain actually goes, so what can I do because of that? And at that point, and there have been many times I've wanted to quit doing what I'm doing. But when I started to change my thought process, I no longer look at myself as a product of my successes. I look at myself as successful because I'm a product of my mistakes.
Yeah. Wow. There's also a framing I've heard around we fantasize, we glorify the perfect path.
Yeah.
Right. Like, let's say if I hadn't made those mistakes, it wouldn't have that discomfort and that pain. I would have. And then it's like, what would you have missed out on if you had this perfect path? Right. You wouldn't have gone to like learn that skill or build resilience or be introduced to this person or whatever. It's kind of just another framing of the exact thing you're saying, of like the mistakes, quote unquote, failures, right? They're basically what makes us successful.
And Bradley, I love your use of the word framing because I truly feel, and I've said this to my wife, I said, I want to start a course on just how to reframe because I think life is all about the framing. And how do we reframe that mistake as a success? Because I will confess, I wrote a book not long ago and I put a whole chapter on reframing, and I still don't do it as often as I'd like.
Yeah.
I still have those moments during my day where I sit and it's like, damn it, I should have done that differently. And it takes me a minute to think, I really need to try to reframe this. But God, if we taught reframing in high school, I think people would really come out and just live life a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it is a practice, right? I mean, even you're professional in this. And at the end of the day, we got to really remember to do it.
Yep.
And it leads me to my next question, because we can talk in beautiful hypotheticals all the time about reframing and learning from your mistakes and all that. Like, this is good and all, like 100%. And every founder in the world knows what it feels like to quote unquote fail or make that mistake or get that rejection or get trash talked on. Just like we all know it can be this visceral emotional feeling that like it takes you out sometimes. I mean, I've definitely experienced it many times.
Yep.
And so what do you say to do in those situations when you really are knocked down emotionally, you just feel like shit? What do you do?
There's a couple of things I do. The first is I am blessed with an amazing wife in marriage. So oftentimes if I'm feeling upset or down, I'll sit down and have a chat with my wife and say, listen, this is where I am. And I'll be honest, she's saved me a couple of times from throwing in the towel. So I'm definitely not averse to that. I also have what I call my 5. So there are 5 people that I hang around with who are just as concerned about my success as I am. And I call them and we talk. And I would encourage everybody to pick their five, just those five people you go to. And if I call any one of them, Bradley, the first thing they say when they pick up the phone is, do you want me to just listen or do you want me to offer a solution?
Love it.
So a lot of times those people will really help me through it. The other thing for me is music. I had a childhood where music saved me many, many times, and I don't play music, but boy, I love to listen to the right playlist. So if I'm ever having a rough day, I escape with my playlist for a little bit, and then I try to come back re-energized. But I want to be abundantly clear. None of these are perfect.
Right.
They work a lot of the times, but I still have many days where it's like, I just need to push through grit alone.
You talk obviously a lot about presence. It's kind of the main thing that what you do. And to me, there's a distinction between a real business that's been around for many years and lots of growth, and they really invest in all these, the branding and the logos and the channels and the marketing, right? Yeah. And then there's the early founder, and I'm just like, I don't have time or budget or energy to make everything perfect online, right?
Yeah.
How do you think about the first few years, or I'm just small as a business, where I need to look like I have my shit together because I want you to trust me and buy from me. But the reality is, like, I don't want to spend a ton of time and money on that.
Yeah. So I'm going to say something that, if you have any hate mail on this, please feel free to send it my way. But the reality is, many studies have shown psychologically that the more human you are, the more sales you're going to make. So my encouragement would be, you don't always have to have your shit together. Just show up and be human, because people want to buy from people like them. And it's been shown, Bradley, over and over in studies that if people had to pick between somebody who's perfect with every word, suit and tie, prim and proper, or the person that comes in and stutters and spills coffee on themselves, the stutterer gets the business every single time because people can relate. So try not to be influenced by what you see on social media, all the perfection that's happening and, oh my God, their life is perfect. Screw that. Nobody's life is perfect. And the people who get the business are the ones people can trust and that they like. That's what it boils down to. It's never the price. It's never your suit. It's never completely your product. People buy you, and they want to know that you make mistakes and you're human. So my advice to people just starting off, and I wish I would have had this advice starting off, is let the human side show. Just let it out. I struggled for so long, Bradley, investing a ton of money in marketing and sales and figuring out the right verbiage. And it turned out people just wanted to buy me.
Oh, I love that. So I want to go a layer deeper here, because what I hear you saying is, I get to be me and my flaws and mistakes and humanness, which builds trust and basically gets people to buy, right?
100%.
And there's an element of, everyone's a skeptical buyer these days, like incredibly skeptical, right? For good reason, I'd say. There's a lot of bullshit out there. And so,
yes, there is.
Yeah, there is. So I want to show up in my humanness, but I also wanted to be clear that I know what I'm doing, and the product I built is going to solve your problem. It's thoughtfully done. I want to portray this, some element of like, I can solve your problem. And so you buy from me, and not only buy from me, you buy from me with confidence, because you're going to spend $100, but you're going to get $10,000 worth of value. So it's a no brainer, right?
Yeah.
How do I reconcile those two things?
So here's, in my opinion, this was the hardest thing for me to overcome the beginning. And I'm going to associate it because I think a lot of business owners go through this, is we treat the people we sell to and the people we love and hang around with differently. So in other words, I'll have a conversation with you, Bradley, right now, and I'll tell you all about Orchestrate and the Own the Room podcast, and we'll have a great conversation. But something happens when we get on the phone with the prospect. All of a sudden, our brain shifts gears, and I have to be professional, and I have to sell it just right. So what I found is that the sales process is the biggest illusion there is. We think we have to open and close and answer objections and present properly, when in reality, it's just talk about it like you talk about it to a friend. the way I work with clients is I say, okay, don't treat me as a prospect. Just tell me how you describe it to your mom or your sister or your wife or your best friend. That is always dramatically different than how they give it to a prospect. And what's amazing, Bradley, is none of these people have sales skills. They've never gone through a sales course. And yet when they're done with me about their product, I'm like, shit, yeah, I'm ready to buy. Let's do this. So I think the biggest thing we need to get over, and I still do this to this day, is stop separating your prospects from how you truly feel about your product. Get out of the sell mode, get into the passion mode, and let that sell for you. Seriously, there's a huge difference between the two for most people.
You just answered my next question. It was going to be, why does that work? So maybe you can just double click on it, because I think it's worth answering. Like, why does just talking at you as if you're my mom and telling you about, hey, like there's this cool product I built, like, why does that work?
It works because you're not embarrassed and you're not trying to get to the point where you're trying to do it perfectly. If you mess up with your mom, if you mess up with your friend, you don't think a thing of it. It's like, oh, let me go back. That's not really the way it works. But your emotions are so tied up because you're not trying to sell them anything. When people say I'm not a salesperson, I consider that their best trait. Gartner just did a huge study a number of years ago that said 80% of people who buy do not want a salesperson involved. That's staggering. Yeah. And if that's the case, don't be a salesperson. Take the fact that you can't sell as a compliment and use it. Be passionate about what you're talking about and just let that shine through. It works because people don't want to be sold. They want to be a part of the process.
Right. And that's what I heard in your last answer where you started to hit on it. It's that you allow your passion to come through. Like, you started this business probably because you're passionate about the product or the customer or the solution and some version of that. And when you're talking to a friend, that just naturally comes through, and people feel that energetically. And then that's where that trust is built, right?
Yep. And I'll give you a great example. I had a client who was trying to get an investment in his company, and he was doing something that would help people with leukemia. And when he presented to investors, it was all factual. It's going to get this ROI and it's going to do this, that, and the other. And I said to him, why are you doing this? And he said, because I had a best friend who died of leukemia and it hit me and I wanted to do it because of that. And I'm like, why aren't you telling that story?
Right.
That's what people want to hear. And when he started doing that, he wound up getting an investor in his next round of presentations. People don't want to be sold. They want to know they're part of a solution, and they want to help you be part of that. So Bradley, if I can get you as part of the process with buying my product, and I can have you picture what you're going to look like inside of it, it's a huge difference than saying you should buy this. It's $100 a month. Go for it.
I have a bit of a selfish question, because my product is, it's one where I frankly want people to go through the product funnel without talking to me. And depending on where they came from, like if they come from this podcast or my LinkedIn or whatever, they have a pretty good idea of who I am and my why and my purpose. And it's kind of built in to some degree. How does a founder create that sense of familiarity and trust and the storytelling and purpose from a product-led growth perspective of like, come through my funnel and feel kind of the essence of what we're talking about here so that they do buy?
One thing I've found over the years is the more you can be in contact with somebody, the better the process goes. But nowadays with social media the way it is, there's a million ways to do that. Set up YouTube videos, put out YouTube shorts, include a Loom video in an email that you send out. Anything where they can feel who you are. I mean, even your podcast. You know, if you advertise your podcast, they can get a feel for who you are. I think the big mistake we make is thinking we can just send out an email to 10,000 people and we're going to get perfectly valid customers in response. Sure, the law of averages says you're going to, but are you really going to get the ones that you want to be talking to and that are going to be valid for your product? So Bradley, your podcast, this is great. I'm getting a great feel for who you are, and
Mhm.
you're getting a feel for who I am. But you can do that through so many channels. And social media, the posting of videos is the great way to do it. And put those links in your emails. Put them in your LinkedIn profiles and in your DMs. But people need to feel you, not just read about you.
Obviously, AI has been all the craze and all the talk over the last months and the last few years, and
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like it's only going to accelerate, right? And
Yep.
so, in your mind, and there's so many different ways you could take this question, but how does presence and building trust and the human element, how is it even, I mean, it's a leading question now, but like, how is it even more important, or in what ways is it important or different given this world of AI and the AI boom we've been seeing?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways to look at that. One thing you're seeing a lot of people do is they're no longer using AI as just their main outreach, but they're using authenticity as a differentiator. I'm older than most people listening to your podcast, I think. And I am stunned at how you being you is now a differentiator, right? It just seems weird. Just be you, and that'll make you different than 90% of the people. So I think that's a piece of it. But I also think we tend to forget when we use AI that although it's a great helper, and I'm all in support of AI, but eventually you got to talk to somebody. So we need to remember that presence is just a huge part of it. And if you're using AI as your sole first shot at somebody, I think you're missing the boat.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. That might end up being the title of this episode, just be you, and that'll differentiate you among
Yeah.
90% of the people. Cause I mean, wow, what a simple concept of just be you. And
Yeah.
yet in this day when you can honestly automate so much, I mean, almost anything,
Yeah.
the human element of just being you is a huge differentiator. Like, what a concept.
Yeah. And I really think AI is going to be like everything. The pendulum has swung really far one way, but I think eventually it'll hit in the middle and people will find a moderate way to use it without being over reliant on it. Because you're right, it's not going away and it's fantastic. And when used properly, it is a game changer. But if you're using it as your sole outreach, I really think you're asking for problems. Just my
Yeah.
opinion.
The other thing that I'm going to mention here is with AI, it seems like it's never been easier to start a business, launch a service, build software, right? Like so many more people are like, oh, I can use this to build something that I maybe couldn't have built 2 years ago on my
Yeah.
own,
Yep.
right? And so if there's an abundance of new softwares and a lot of competing softwares, then how do you differentiate amongst all of your competitors, which now may be 5 times more competitors than you had previously?
I heard a great quote about AI the other day. It says everybody wants to build their own AI. And the person said it's like cutting your own hair. It feels like a good idea and it feels pretty easy. But when you actually do it and look in the mirror, you're like, oh boy, I really should have gone to somebody who knows what they're doing. And I will say personally that I know a lot of investors, and a lot of the investors are saying that AI products have become the single biggest source of disappointment for them because there's a lot of promises made that just aren't followed through on yet. So, my encouragement for people looking for AI is do your research, try out free trials, but don't use it as your end all be all. Be human at the end of the day, and that's going to be your biggest. It's going to be your biggest sale.
I won't say the name of the product, but I've been using one that reviews my emails and it messages me which ones I should respond to, and then it even drafts replies, and then if I give it permission, it will send the reply. So I workshopped a reply with the AI in iMessage, and I said, "Go ahead and send it," and it sent it to the wrong person.
Oh
Uh,
no.
yeah,
Oh no.
and it's a bad look, right? It's like shit. Okay, and it's funny. The founder actually had emailed me. He's like, "Hey, so excited for you to be a customer, and welcome any feedback." And I was like, "Look, I'm gonna have to not use this anymore. Like, I can't have that happen. That is
Yeah.
just not okay."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Look, I totally understand. Thanks for the feedback. We're really working hard on it. I'll refund you and give you another free month if you're willing to keep using it, kind of thing."
Nice.
And it's kind of where AI is right now. To your point, it's like
It is.
that product is not ready for prime time. And
Right.
as a founder, I have a lot of empathy. Like you build an MVP, it doesn't work perfectly, and then you iterate and grow and learn and figure shit out. Like that's the journey to some degree. So
Well, and let's look at another piece of the AI puzzle. A lot of people are using it for business development. But what most people don't realize about using AI for things like business development are that all it is a modified search engine. It's kind of like Family Feud. It goes out, it picks the most popular answers, it delivers them back to you in a way that's great. But this year, 5 million new businesses will open. In 5 years, 90% will have closed their doors. So any business development direction you're getting was used by all of those people whose doors are now closed.
yeah.
So I would encourage people use AI, but use it discretionary. Don't use it as the final end all be all source of your information, because right now it's phenomenal, but it's really, when you search for information, it just brings back the most popular answers, and those popular answers may not be right.
Yeah, I think it's a dangerous proposition to say like it's going to be my brain, it's going to make decisions for me. It's like no. Like every single time, right? You get to use your own brain. It can be a really good thought partner, but
Yes.
you can't just outsource your thinking and strategy to this AI that's using, as you said, right, information that 90% of businesses use to no longer exist.
When I see people that are creating their AI board of directors and they have the AI talking to each other, I just think, I hope that works. I think that would be really cool if it works, but I've got reservations. I don't know if that's an approach I would take. Yeah. And honestly, I'm egoless enough to think that maybe I'm missing the boat, but I would feel more comfortable being able to use it as a sounding board, but not as a group of things that make business decisions for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, we could go in an AI soapbox for a long time.
Yeah, sorry, we kind of went down a different path.
I think it's really valuable, frankly, and just how founders are thinking about using AI, the caveats, right? So I think it's really important, especially when we talk about building trust and presence. And if you let AI represent your brand, it's not going to build a whole lot of trust, I'm going to venture to say. So
that would be my guess as well.
You noted something here that I'm really curious about. You shared that tension is usually seen as a negative.
Yep.
But you argue it can be turned into trust and movement.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
So one of the things people avoid is silence. They have an issue with 2 seconds of silence or 3 seconds of silence, and tension is where decisions are made. And the best example I can give, Bradley, one of the biggest questions I get as a consultant is, how do I deal with my price? It seems like I always have to give a discount or I always have to give a rebate. And the reality is we don't give enough time to create that tension with people. And tension is where ideas are born, decisions are made. So let's say my product is $100. So if I say to somebody, Bradley, it's going to cost you $100 to use my product. If there's even a second hesitation, most business owners go, but I can give you a discount. Would $75 work? And when you land your price, shut up. Just be quiet. Let that tension sit, because that's where people are forced to make a decision and think about their options. So if we make things too easy, we tend to think that things aren't going in our direction. So create that tension, have people be forced to make a decision. And what's amazing is once you do this a couple of times and you see how well this works, you're never not going to use tension again.
When the founder in your example, they immediately offer the discount. All right, instead of $100, we'll give it to you for 85 or 80, whatever.
Yeah.
What are they really saying energetically by doing that?
Well, first of all, they're telling you that they marked it up quite a bit. But I think the bigger thing they're telling you, Bradley, is they're devaluing themselves. I don't have enough confidence to stand behind the price tag that's there. And I have told clients for the past umpteen years I've been training, it is never about price. Ever about price. It's about people's insecurities. It's about the fear people have of past failures when they spent this type of money. But it is never the price tag alone that's the problem. And as a business owner, we need to be confident in what we're charging. And I will tell you, it's the single biggest thing I hear from business owners. And it's something I ran to early in my career as well, is you name a price. And when you get even a second hesitation, you're like, oh, but I could drop it. Oh, but I can finance it. Oh, but I could give you a rebate. So stop doing that. Let the tension sit and let them make a decision. You'll be surprised at how many times they go, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it's uncomfortable because what we're doing, we're opening ourselves up to rejection of basically saying, no, Bradley, I don't think you or your product is worth that much. And that's what I'm facing when I hold that tension, right?
Yep. They're not saying it whether it's worth that much. They're saying the value you're providing is not worth more than the money in my pocket. So the onus on us as a business owner is to make that value crystal clear and what the ROI is going to be. And it's going to be better than what you have in your pocket currently. They actually did studies and they found that as humans, we tend to get very uncomfortable if pauses go beyond 2 seconds. We get kind of that fight or flight thing. And I think that's the downfall of many negotiations, the discomfort with silence and a business owner's inability to use silence to their advantage.
Why does 2 seconds of silence make us so uncomfortable?
Because it creates an unknown area in our brain. It's like walking down a dark alley. Inherently, dark alleys aren't dangerous, but our brain fills in those spots. You know, who's hiding behind the dumpster? And oh my God, there's no light. I can't see where I'm going. The alley does not get dangerous because light goes away. It gets dangerous because we know what changes may take place due to lack of light. We're the same way with silence. If we hear silence, we think they're thinking, they don't understand, we need to fill in the blanks, we get fight or flight. And you have to understand it's equally uncomfortable on their side. So if you can hold it and let them think their way through it, you'll be amazed. It's funny because Asians look at it much differently. In Asian culture, 6 to 8 seconds of silence shows respect and that you're thinking about their proposition. So as Americans, we tend to look at silence a little bit different than our Asian counterparts.
Wow. Fascinating.
It is.
You're bringing to mind Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
One of my favorite books.
So good. And I realized after reading that I'm a founder on a sales call and I will say the price and I will just keep talking. Right. You know, and now I catch myself all the time. I'll say the price and I'll just stop. Yeah. And just sit in the discomfort and like let them respond. But I found myself, my God, it was a way through the discomfort, right? If I just talk, it's a little less uncomfortable.
Yeah. And listen, I teach this stuff all the time, Bradley, and I still get in conversations where I'll say the price and the pause will go 2 seconds and you can feel the beads of sweat coming off your forehead. You're wringing your hands underneath the Zoom. You know what I mean? So I don't know if we ever become immune to it.
Yeah. Last topic I want to cover with you is influence. And there's so many founders or even people locally here in my circle in Austin that want to become speakers, want to lead a movement, want to really influence a large group of people, whether it's, women or whether it's business owners or whether it's on down the line, right? I can go long list. It feels really far away to think about someone or myself who's like, yes, I have a podcast and I have I certainly have a presence, but I'm not close to speaking on a stage in front of thousands of people, or maybe I am, and I just don't know it. But
have faith.
Yeah, there you go. So, what would be? I don't necessarily want to focus so much on like the tactical process, but how does a founder start thinking about and making strides towards from where they're at now in early on starting a business, let's say, to I'm going to be on stage in X years talking in front of 10,000 people?
again, this is just my opinion, but I have found this to work extremely well. I'm a firm believer, Bradley, that we network very poorly. That our version of networking is we go to whatever events we can, and we talk to whoever we can, and we just, if we say our message long enough and loud enough, it's going to get through. I think it's completely the opposite. My recommendation is find 2 people who are willing to introduce you to 2 more people. And what we wind up doing then is, let's say I ask you, Bradley, you and I get to know each other, and I say to you, do you know just 2 people that I could talk to and get advice from? And then from those 2 people, I ask them for 2 more people. But you notice I didn't say, so I could tell them about my product or I could tell them about my services. I said, can I get advice from? And what that does is that's better than flattery. Who doesn't want to be able to give advice? So when I give advice to somebody, I naturally want to hear what they have to say. It's the give and take. So you'll get to talk about what you do. But if you're constantly getting people who are warm leads, not just strangers, I can go in and say, hey, Bradley referred me and said you'd be willing to give your advice on this. It's a much different conversation than, hey, stranger, look at their name tag. Hey, Joe, and ask what they do and have them tell what you do. At the end of the year, if you keep doing 2 people from 2 people from 2 people, that's 360 solid connections in a year. People you can legitimately go and talk to. And when you're talking to them, you know what? My goal would be to get on stage one day and talk. But let them spread the word for you. Hey, I know somebody, Bradley, who may be able to help. Let me put you in touch with them. I call it intentional networking. I don't know if you've ever heard the story about the farmer and the king and the grains of rice. Farmer saved the king's daughter, and the king said, what can I do for you? Anything. And the farmer said, I just want a grain of rice for each spot on the chessboard. And for each spot on the chessboard, I just want you to double it. So spot 1 is 1, then you have 2, 4, 8, 16. And the king's like, oh my God, I could do that, no problem. Well, if you factor that all the way out, it turns out to be close to 60 tons by the end of the chessboard. That's the same thing with intentional networking. Each person you ask for 2 people, and eventually you get to the right people. But we tend to confuse numbers we talk to with results. And it's the quality of the numbers that gets you the results.
Wow. I love that, Jake. And the second part of this is, okay, so tactically, that's how I get in front of this many people and I ask for advice, because who doesn't love sharing advice?
Right.
From an influence standpoint, in order for me to speak in front of 10,000 people, I need probably even more than that to respect me, look up to me, want to hear what I have to say, right? I have to have influence over them to some degree. So what are the keys of that piece of this equation?
Yeah. And this goes back to what we were talking about before, is you just need to get your name out there. A podcast is a great way to do it. Being on social media, like creating YouTube videos that have advice or things that you can help business owners with. It's amazing how fast those channels grow. And when you get on more of those channels and you start putting out video clips of yourself and things you do and having people on your podcast, I wouldn't even advise writing a book. I just wrote one and it was far easier than I thought it would be. But it's a great way to get yourself out there as a resource. And the biggest thing is, it's not going to happen overnight. Just take your time, gradually build your influence. And you do that by getting out at as many channels as you can. Let me take a step back. Not as many channels as you can. Get on 1 or 2 channels that will definitely help you out and focus all your attention on those channels. Like if you're going to be podcasting, hire a podcast coach. Somebody who's done it really well and knows how to get it built. If you're going to go on YouTube, hire somebody who's great with YouTube and marketing on YouTube, but don't be afraid to spend money on yourself if you really want to get your influence out there.
And the ways of being, Like when I'm on these channels, when I'm on the podcast, when I'm putting myself out there networking, what are the top two ways of being so that I'm building that influence with each person I connect with?
I would say your best bet is to create a hook point, something that makes people want to listen in the first 2 seconds, and then offering a couple solutions. So being useful. I have a YouTube channel myself, and I found that the videos that do the best are the ones where I create a really great hook in the beginning, and then I offer solutions at the end. You know, be useful. And more importantly, Bradley, be honest. You
Yeah.
look at the people who made it big on YouTube, they're unapologetic. They're even a little bit on the edge.
Mhm.
They're not grossly inadequate, but you could tell they're being their own people. So I think that's another secret as well.
Yeah, and that speaks to the human element that we started this conversation with. Like,
Yeah.
be fully you, not some polished version that you think people want to see.
Yes. And I will tell you something that is directly relevant to this. I had an incident many years ago, 3 knee surgeries. I got hooked on opioids. And I was really hesitant about putting it into my book, but I did. And one thing I get inevitably in feedback from people is, man, that was incredible. You're so authentic. It made me want to read the book. But in the back of my brain, it's like, don't say that. That shows you're not perfect. You're not good
Right.
if you do that.
Right.
So authenticity is just everything.
Yeah. Wow. So good. Jake, we get to wrap up, but I'll give you a second for a shameless plug here. I mean, if people like what you had to say,
Yeah,
how do
I
they work with
appreciate
you? How
that.
do they find you? Yeah. Give us the plug.
Yeah, so I have a podcast called Own the Room with Jake Stahl. It's on every podcast channel you can think of, YouTube, Spotify, etc. I have a book, Own the Room: How to Communicate to Be Seen, Heard, and Respected. That's currently on Amazon. But if you want to reach out to me, you can find me on LinkedIn and you can find me on social media. All of my handles on TikTok, YouTube, etc. are Own the Room with Jake Stahl. And feel free to reach out anytime. I'm more than happy to either bring on a new client, or if you just want to chat and say hi for a half hour, I'm open to that too.
Awesome. And we'll include those links in the show notes so people can find you easily as well. Jake, really just thank you so much for your time, your insights, your energy. I've
Thank
learned a
you.
lot. Really enjoyed and appreciate the feedback as well. I'm going to go get my headshot redone, but yeah, can't thank you enough for the time and just the gold you dropped in the last 45 minutes here.
Oh, my pleasure, Bradley. And thank you again for the honor of being on your show.
Absolutely.